The hour of convening having arrived, all members of the House will please report to the floor and take their seats. All members of the House will report to the floor. Clerk will ring the bell. All members report to the floor of the House. We're about to have the morning roll call. We're going to have the call of the roll. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. Doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. Good morning. We're running a little behind schedule. It's that time of the session when the Rules Committee seems to be a little longer in duration than at other times, and that's to be expected. We're going to have our scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag. If you will indulge me, though, on a point of personal privilege before we have our devotion, I want to ask you, if you would, and we pray this morning, that you would keep in your prayers our Speaker Pro Tem and her mother and her entire family. She will not be with us today. Her father was passed away Monday evening, and she has gone to be with her family in Dublin today. And I told her that I would wait until today and bring that to your attention. I know it's been a tough battle for Mr. Gerald Slaughter, and he fought the good fight, and he's at peace now. But let's remember her and all of her family today during this very difficult time. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the gentleman from the 165th House District, Representative Mickey Stevens. Representative Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. It's indeed an honor and a pleasure to be before you to bring you the pastor today. And his name is Reverend Clarence Teddy Williams, and give some background on him. He is my opponent that I beat to come back to the House. And I only brought him because I don't want him to come back to the House. And I feel like this is a good opportunity to put this on video, so in case he decides to run again, I'll use it. But in all seriousness, all honesty, he's a pastor of Pilgrim Baptist Church in Savannah, Georgia, and this year they celebrate their 100th anniversary. He also is the moderator for the Berean Missionary Baptist Association, and which is comprised of 42 churches and a congregation in about 15,000. Am I correct? About 15,000. He's a graduate of Savannah State University, my alumni, my school, and my heart. And he's on the board of directors of Savannah Chatham County Youth Authorities, and he works on the board of directors of Recovery Place. I told him before I invited him, I don't want a hooper, I don't want him hollering, and I want him to be short and to the point. And this was an honor and a pleasure I present my friend, Clarence Teddy Williams.
You could give me a better hand than that. Somebody started clapping. Anybody who would come out, and he is my friend. You don't usually find folk run against each other and eat breakfast the next morning and tell them how you whipped me. I'm honored, Mr. Speaker of the House, and to this distinguished body. I certainly want to thank my representative, Mr. Stevens, for this invitation to come and to share with you today. This is the day that the Lord hath made, and a good friend of mine said, you might as well rejoice and be glad in it. For my short remarks, I want to try to beat a record, and I want somebody to put the time on me, because if I'm real short, I may get invited again. I want the record for the shortest here. There's a passage in Psalm 133 that I want to lift and share with you. I brought some sticks with me, and everybody who passed by wanted to know what I was going to do with this stick or these sticks. One legislator said, there's no law in the book that prohibits me from beating you all. So we'll see what we'll do. But I want you to grab this and write it down, and I'm going to use the Living Bible translation of Psalm 133. This is a paraphrase Bible, the Living Bible. How wonderful it is, how pleasant when brothers live in harmony. For harmony is as precious as the fragrant anointing oil that was poured over Aaron's head and ran down unto his beard and unto the border of his robe. Harmony is as refreshing as the dew on Mount Hermon, on the mountains of Israel. And God has pronounced this eternal blessing on Jerusalem, even life forevermore. The opening clause is where I want to challenge all of us today. The King James rendering uses the word, how good. The first thing I want to lift today is that it's a good thing to be a member of this body. And I need a Baptist deacon to say amen. The second thing, when you come together, the King James said, how good, but the second thing, how pleasant. And I watched you all when I came in. Everybody seems to be friendly. Seems to be friendly. This is a pleasant atmosphere. But I think the challenge here is the ending of verse number 1. Live in harmony. The King James says, talks about unity, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. The ending verse, and I'm going to use my sticks, and now I'm going to pray, and that'll be it, because I do want to come back, and I don't want it to be 20 years. The King James rendering says, and watch this, for there the Lord commands the blessing. And I want to challenge you all today in this inspirational, is that we need to get from here to there. Wherever the Lord is pronouncing the blessing, I think we need to be there. Well, how do we get there? unity. You know the old saying, where there's unity, there's what? All right, I was looking for Ed. Ed is gone. All right. Come on, you help me. Come on up. Don't be scared. I don't bite on, what's the day of the week? Thursdays? I don't bite on Thursdays.
Yes, sir. My mom taught me.
Now, when you break it in the middle. Okay. This represents. No, stay here. No, go. You come here. You think I'm going to anoint him? I'm not going to anoint you today. I'm not going.
I need all the help I can get.
This represents our governor and all of his staff. Break it. If you try to stay by yourself. This represents, hold on to them. Put it right there where you can get it. You're going to break them all. Okay. Lieutenant governor and all of his staff. If you try to stay by yourself. Everybody say, where there's unity. Anybody from Athens, Georgia? All right, I borrowed this from Winfred Hope. Ebenezer, right. This represents our speaker. If he tries to get out there by himself, break it.
You all right with it?
Break it.
He's my boss.
He's your boss? He's all right. He's going to let you do it. I decree that you keep your job. All right, break it. Break it. This stick represents one side of the aisle. This represents the other side of the aisle. And this represents every staff member. Where there's unity, there's what? This is what the citizens of the state of Georgia, this is what we're looking for in this legislative session, that you all will keep the unity. Because where there's unity, there is. All right, break them all. Break them. Don't bend like with your hands. Just where there's unity, there is. I wish somebody would give the Lord a praise right there. That was my holler that Mickey told me not to do. Let us pray. Eternal God, our Father, you are the source of our being, and because of your love and mercy, we have life and freedom. You've been better to us than we've been to ourselves, and we pause to say simply thank you. We thank you for your presence, and we pray that you will guide this legislative body in the work you seek to accomplish through them. We've learned to acknowledge you in everything. Forgive us of our sins. Remove anything that will divide us. Govern our thoughts and make us mindful of the needs of all people. Influence our decisions and reveal your will to us. Be glorified through every effort in this room today, and the devil will be horrified. We love and praise you, both now and forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Amen.
Doorkeepers will unlock the doors. Chair recognizes Chairman Chokas, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, for the report of the committee.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits has read the journals of the previous legislative day and have found them to be correct.
Chairman Chokas, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none and the journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. O'Neill, the 146 moves the following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports of standing committees. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 549 by Representative Rice in the 95th. A bill being entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 2 of Title 48, Fiscal to Georgia Annotated relating to the administration of the Department of Revenue.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 550 by Representative Frazier, the 126th, Fleming, the 121st, Jackson, the 128th, and Prince, the 127th. Bill being entitled an act to repeal an act creating the Burke County Economic Development.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 553 by Representative Dickey, the 140th, Peake, the 141st, Holmes, the 129th. The bill being entitled an act to provide a new charter for the city of Forsyth.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 554 by Representative Rutledge, the 109th, Stevenson of the 90th, Welch, the 110th, Yates, the 73rd, Strickland, the 111th, and others. Bill being entitled an act to amend an act, providing for a new Board of Commissioners of Henry County.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 555 by Representative Chandler, the 105th, Taylor, the 173rd, Cantrell, the 22nd, Sessler, the 35th, Clark, the 101st, and others. Bill be entitled an act to amend Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to courts.
Insurance.
House Resolution 564 by Representative Ralston, the 7th. A resolution honoring the life and memory of Mr. James Howard Bud Holloway and dedicating a bridge in his honor.
Transportation.
Unnumbered House Bill LC 362766 by Representative Parsons to be entitled an act to amend Article 4, Chapter 5 of Title 46, the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to telecommunications.
Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications.
Unnumbered House Bill LC 287574ER by Representative Parsons of the 44th to be entitled an act to amend Part 4 of Article 2, Chapter 5 of Title 46. Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to emergency telephone number 911 systems.
Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications.
Senate Bill 112 by Senator Harper, the 7th, Tolleson, the 20th, Jeffries, the 17th, Williamson, the 19th, Burke, the 11th, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 27. Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general hunting provisions.
Game, Fish, and Parks.
Senate Bill 114 by Senators Huffstetler of the 52nd, Kirk of the 13th. Bill being entitled an act to amend Code Section 43-34-25, the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to delegation of certain medical acts to advanced practice general registered nurses.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 119 by Senator Jeffries of the 17th, Jones of the 25th, Tolleson the 20th, Gooch of the 51st, and Ginn of the 47th. Bill being entitled an act to amend Chapter 4 of Title 1 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to holidays and observances.
Natural Resources and Environment.
Senate Bill 131 by Senator Dugan of the 30th, Jackson the 24th, Kirk the 13th, Jones the 25th, Albers of the 56th, and others. Bill being entitled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 1 of Title 37 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to powers and duties of the Department of Behavioral Health.
Health and Human Services.
Senate Bill 135 by Senator Bethel of 54th, McCoon of the 29th, Cowser of the 46th, Jones of the 22nd, and Thompson of the 5th. Bill being entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 6 of Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated related to the clerks of superior courts.
Judiciary.
That completes first readers.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
HB 530 by Representative Williamson of the 115th, the bill relating to financial institutions. HB 531 by Representative Mabra of the 63rd, a bill relating to personal jurisdiction over non-residents. HB 532 by Representative Reeves of the 34th, a bill to amend an act creating one or more community improvement districts in Cobb County and each municipality therein. HB 533 by Representative Green of the 151st, a bill to amend an act creating Board of Commissioners of Randolph County. HB 534 by Representative Chandler of the 105th, a bill relating to incest. HB 535 by Representative Harrell of the 106th, a bill relating to alcoholic beverages. HB 536 by Representative Nimmer of the 178th, a bill relating to hearings and appeals relative to workers' compensation. HB 537 by Representative Rogers of the 29th, a bill relating to medical assistance. HB 542 by Representative Wilkerson of the 38th, a bill relating to higher education savings plan. HB 543 by Representative Clark of the 147th, a bill relating to general provisions regarding parks, historic areas, memorials and recreation, crimes and offenses, game and fish, and parking for persons with disabilities. HB 544 by Representative Clark of the 147th, a bill relating to carrying and possession of firearms. HB 545 by Representative Reinders of the 152nd, a bill to amend an act to incorporate the town of Sumner. HB 546 by Representative Jones of the 167th, a bill to amend an act to create a Board of Elections and Registration for McIntosh County. HB 547 by Representative Fleming of the 121st, a bill relating to years support. HB 548 by Representative Carson of the 46th, a bill relating to sales and use taxes. HB 551 by Representative Brockway of the 102nd, a bill relating to salary deductions applicable to public officers and employees. HB 552 by Representative Williamson of the 115th, a bill relating to insurance. House Resolution 547 by Representative Jones of the 167th, a resolution recognizing United States military veterans, dedicating a highway in their honor. House Resolution 548 by Representative Kirby of the 114th, a resolution honoring the life of Ethan Rutledge, dedicating an intersection in his memory. Senate Bill 85 by Senator Beach of the 21st, a bill relating to development authorities. Senate Bill 89 by Senator Albers of the 56th, a bill relating to textbooks for elementary and secondary education. Senate Bill 100 by Senator Harper of the 7th, a bill relating to motor vehicles and traffic. Senate Bill 104 by Senator Duggan of the 30th, a bill relating to State Depository Board. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees, the clerk will read.
Representative Brooks Coleman of the 97th District, Chairman of the Committee on Education, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Education has had on its consideration the following bills of the House. It's instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 414, do pass by substitute. House Bill 313, do pass. House Bill 502, do pass by substitute. House Bill 474, do pass by substitute. House Bill 209, do pass by substitute. House Bill 401, do pass. Representative Jan Tankers of the 160th District, Chairman of the Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination Locals had under consideration the following bills of the House, and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 516, do pass. House Bill 518, do pass. House Bill 521, do pass. House Bill 522, do pass. House Bill 526, do pass. House Bill 528, do pass. Representative Golick of the 40th District, Chairman of the Committee on Judiciary Non-Civil, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Judiciary Non-Civils had under consideration the following bill of the House. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 352, do pass by substitute. Representative Weldon of the 3rd District, Chairman of the Committee on Juvenile Justice, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Juvenile Justice has had under consideration the following bills of the House. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 263, do pass by substitute. House Bill 361, do pass by substitute. House Bill 264, do pass by substitute. Representative Maxwell of the 17th District, Chairman of the Committee on Regulated Industries, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Regulated Industries has had under consideration the following bills of the House. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 461, do pass by substitute. House Bill 232, do pass by substitute. House Bill 535, do pass. Representative Sims of the 123rd District, Chairman of the Committee on State Property, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on State Properties has had under its consideration the following bills in the House. It has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 50, due pass by substitute. House Bill 255, due pass by substitute. Representative Jay Roberts of the 155th District, Chairman of the Committee on Transportation, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Transportation has had under its consideration the following bill of the House, and has instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 477, due pass by committee substitute.
All right, we're going on now to the local calendar. Going to vote the local calendar. House will be in order. Third reading and passage of uncontested local bills. We have two bills on the local calendar relating to homestead exemption. Those require a recorded 2/3 roll call vote for passage. If there is no objection, we will vote on the local calendar as a whole with a recorded vote. Hearing none, it is so ordered. The clerk will read the local calendar.
House Bill 516 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st, Effingham County. House Bill 518 by Representative Corbett of the 174th, Ware County. House Bill 526 by Representative Buckner of the 137th, Talbot County. House Bill 528 by Representative Tarvin of the 2nd, Walker County. House Bill 521 by Representative Raffensperger of the 50th, Fulton County. House Bill 522 by Representative Raffensperger of the 50th, Fulton County.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered on the local calendar? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bills? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall these bills now pass? All those in favor of passage of the bills on the local calendar will vote aye. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bills on the local calendar. The ayes are 155, the nays are 14. These bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. House will be in order. House will be in order. The chair recognizes the chair of the Intergovernmental Coordination Committee, Chairman Tankersley, to introduce the doctor of the day.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, House members. I would like for you to join me in a good welcome to my friend and good supporter, Dr. Michelle Zena. She's here with us today. She graduated from Birmingham Southern College in 1996 and attended Mercer University School of Medicine and completed her postgraduate training in pediatrics at the University of Florida, Shands Jacksonville, and Wolfson Children's Hospital in 2005. In 2012, Dr. Zena was selected to attend the prestigious Georgia Physicians Leadership Academy, and she was instrumental in forming the Bullock Pediatrics Group in 2007 and is immediate past president of the Ogeechee River Medical Society. She serves on the board of directors of the Medical Association of Georgia and has been a board member of East Georgia Physicians Group since 2007 and held multiple elected offices. She's been named the Young Physician of the Year by the American Academy of Pediatrics in Georgia. The Georgia House and Senate passed resolutions in 2012 recognizing her ongoing children's health care advocacy. She is well known around our area for her straightforward, caring approach by parents and patients alike. In the office, she enjoys patient education especially, and foster children, and has a passion for ADHD. Let's give a warm house welcome to Dr. Michelle Zena. Did you want to say a word?
Thank you. It's an honor to be here and actually be the doctor of the day instead of being here advocating for children's issues in Medicaid. As a fellow servant, I recognize the enormous amount of time it takes to do what you do here. And as a physician and a pediatrician, I certainly appreciate that. Thank you.
We are honored to have with us today a former member of this body who is now the mayor of Demorest, Georgia. Please make welcome former Representative Rick Austin. We are about to go on now to morning orders. We have a number of members that have signed up. Chair is going to ask that your comments be limited to 1 minute. 1 minute. We've got a busy day today. Chair recognizes Representative Welch for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, members of the General Assembly and the members of the House. I'd like to, it's Peace Corps Week across the United States. I'm a former Peace Corps volunteer. I served for almost 2.5 years in Ghana, West Africa, as a teacher and a constructor of a small school building. But we have volunteers today, returned volunteers from the United States Peace Corps that are here this week, and we want to recognize them today. This is a part of the Greater Atlanta returned Peace Corps volunteers are here, and they have organized since 1981 and have had a strong organization in the metropolitan area, hosting conferences here in Atlanta and performing volunteer services across the metropolitan Atlanta area. So if you would today, I'd like to recognize them. If you would give them a round of applause, we'd like to stand up and recognize them today. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Pack for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I have the great pleasure to represent a part of Gwinnett County that includes Parkview High School. And today we have the Parent Teacher Student Association from Parkview High School up in the gallery. If you would stand up, you'll be recognized. They are ably led by Principal David Smith, and when they're here at the Capitol, it's always, they make this place smarter and a little bit better looking than normal. And as a reward for their hard work, they're going to the varsity after this. So good luck. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Good job.
Chair recognizes Representative Waits for a morning order.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise to give attention to a very important and serious issue. Many of you may have caught the news last evening when we heard of individual students, one of a young lady who hung herself due to bullying in her school district, as well as a young man right here in the metro Atlanta area who's had some challenges. On your desk, you'll find an endorsement from Montlick and Associates for House Bill 40, which simply seeks to expand the definition of bullying. It requires a mandatory reporting requirement, and more importantly, it requires sensitivity training of educators and/or administrators. And so I would encourage everyone to consider signing on to House Bill 40. I also want to applaud my colleague for her work on her bill regarding cyberbullying. Thank you, Representative Pam Dickerson.
Chair recognizes Representatives Gravely, Hightower, Bruce, Alexander, and Jones for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As my colleagues make their way down here, we all know that two things in life we have to deal with, and that's death and taxes. Well, let me tell you, in Douglas County, we've got two very apt gentlemen that take care of us, and I want to make a recognition. We're very, very proud of them. Our Tax Commissioner, Todd Cowan, was named Tax Commissioner of the Year by the Association, but also in the same year and in the same county, our coroner, Randy Daniel, was named Coroner of the Year. We have these gentlemen with us up here in the gallery. We're very proud of them in Douglas County. We've done resolutions to recognize them. Also with Todd today as his beautiful wife, Miss Dorcas, we're happy to have them. Would the House please give a big warm welcome to the Coroner and Tax Commissioner of the Year from Douglas County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Turner for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are individuals in our lives that we are honored to have the opportunity to spend just a season with. And even though our time with them is relatively short, they help instill in us, by their beautiful example, the values and principles that guide us our entire lives. I want to take a moment to recognize the life of one of these people, Jenny Paquette Hennigan, who helped craft the pillars of my character. Mrs. Hennigan was taken from us a little too soon, just a couple days ago, but her legacy lives on in the lives that she touched as an educator. And while she may no longer be with us, the impact of her life carries on. Her life mattered. She leaves behind a husband, Bobby, and a teenage son, Colin. And would you please join me in a moment of silence to recognize her life? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representatives Bentley and Dickey for a morning order.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, colleagues. Today, Taylor County Vikings, Lady Vikings, we want to say congratulations to them as they travel to Macon today to play in the GHSA Class A Public Championship game against Turner County. So we are very proud of the Taylor County Vikings of Taylor County High School in Butler, Georgia.
And I'm very proud of our Crawford County Eagles boys basketball team also playing in the state championship game tomorrow. So it's been over 35 years since the Crawford County has played in that game. So it's going to be a good weekend in Middle Georgia.
Thank you. Thank you, colleagues.
Chair recognizes for a morning order Chairman Carter, Representative Darlene Taylor, and Representative Sam Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the House. It's our honor today, and we have visiting with us the leadership from the Thomas County Chamber of Commerce. If y'all would stand, please. Please give them a hand. And you say something. These are the leaders of our community, and we appreciate their time coming up to share with us. Thank you.
Chair recognizes for a morning order Representative Dawkins Hagler, Representative Stevenson, Representative Frazier, Representative Anderson, and Representative Kendrick.
You want to do it today? When do y'all want to do it?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the gallery today, we are so honored to have with us the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. And we would like for them to stand right now and be recognized. They are here with us today on our celebration of the National Coalition of Black Women 100 Day at State here at the Capitol. So please give them a round of applause. They are absolutely beautiful. Tell your chapter. I am with the Augusta chapter.
I'm with the DeKalb chapter, past president.
DeKalb
chapter.
And we also have the Metro Atlanta chapter. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Dickey for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to come back. I've got a great group of young people from Crawford County Middle School, the Middle School Student Council. They're in the gallery, and Amy Yawn, who brings them, and I'd just like for y'all to give them a warm round of applause this morning and welcome them to the chamber. Y'all stand up. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representatives Williamson and Kirby for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, today we have some of Representative Tom Kirby and I are honored to recognize some of Walton County's favorite citizens. I would like, if you, it's Disability Day from Walton County, if you folks would please stand or rise as you're able. Let's welcome these great kids from Walton County. Thank you for joining us today.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the Minority Caucus, Chairman Flood, for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to recognize and acknowledge the 100th anniversary of Christian City down in Union City. Christian City is a 500-acre campus that offers services for seniors and for young adults. They've got one of the largest active retirement communities in the region and was recognized by U.S. World News Report as one of the best facilities in the country. The Children's Village offers safe haven and education for children at risk, and they celebrated their 100th year in existence just about a week ago. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the Minority Leader of the House, Leader Abrams, for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to acknowledge the presence of seniors from House District 89 who joined us in the gallery this afternoon. Thank you so much for being here. Will you please stand? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Beskin for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm here today to honor and recognize a man who needs no introduction in this Capitol. Senator Mike Egan was here this morning, and many of you saw him in the halls. However, he had surgery a couple of weeks ago and had to go home. Michael Joseph Egan Jr. was elected to this House in 1966. As a Republican, at which time I've heard the Republican caucus could have met in one of those phone booths we still have in the anteroom. He served as the minority leader from 1971 until he was appointed by President Jimmy Carter as an Associate Attorney General under Attorney General Griffin Bell in 1977. He later returned to the General Assembly and served in the Senate from 1989 to 2000. Senator Egan is a patriot. He served in the U.S. Army in World War II from 1945 to 1947, beginning at the age of 19. He later served in the Korean conflict. Senator Egan is a scholar. He attended Yale University and graduated from Harvard Law School, a law professor, a published legal scholar. He's a family man. He's been married to his wife for 60 years, has 6 children, including his son Cole, who was here with him this morning, and 15 talented grandchildren. Senator Egan is a man of faith. He's a lifelong member of Cathedral of Christ the King. Senator Egan is also a humble man. He is one of my constituents, and when I was calling voters last year, I knew none of this about the Mike Egan that I was calling. He listened to me politely, which I greatly appreciated, and at the end of my pitch, he very humbly told me that he in fact had served in the same position I was seeking for a few years a while ago. Please join me in giving a warm thank you and recognition to Senator Mike Egan.
I want to thank Representative Beskin for her work on that resolution. We had hoped to, had planned to actually have Mike Egan here on the podium with us, and but that didn't work out. And but I would have said then, and I will say now, I don't know that I have ever served in public office with a person of greater honesty and greater courage than Mike Egan. And Lord knows we could use some of that. Chair recognizes the chairman of the Education Committee, Chairman Coleman, for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, we want to honor a former doorkeeper of ours, Glenn Hartley, and I have on my desk a resolution, an invite resolution that I'd like to invite all of you to come back and sign. We're going to have him down here later in the month, so please come back and sign this, and let's recognize and honor one of the greatest doorkeepers we ever had that loved you, and I know you loved him, Glenn Hartley. So come back there and sign it if you would. Thank you.
House will be in order. We're about to honor some very distinguished and special Georgians. The clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 487.
House Resolution 487 by Representative Clark of the 98th Bar of the 103rd, Peak of the 141st, Brockway the 102nd, Williamson the 115th, and others. A resolution honoring the life and memory of Representative Michael Brown and inviting his wife and children to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes for an invite resolution Representative David Clark, Representative Clark, and Representative Timothy Barr.
If I could get y'all's attention for just 1 second, this very important invite resolution. As many of you know, Michael Brown ran for Josh Clark's seat. And it is my pleasure to honor the life of my friend today. I had the privilege of calling Michael Brown a friend. He was a mentor and a tremendous influence on my life. Michael was an incredible husband, father, and friend. He was also a man of faith and conviction who had a positive impact on everyone he met. Michael, I can give him one of the highest honors that I can give to somebody, in that he was a reflection of Jesus. I absolutely have no doubt he would have made a great House colleague, and a wonderful public servant. His wife Lisa, his son Will, his daughter Bonnie are here today to celebrate his memory. I'd like to turn it over to Representative Clark.
Thank you, Timmy. I cannot say enough about this man, Michael Brown, and the way he lived his life and the legacy he left. And I'd like to tell you about the man who truly inspired him to live, knowing that what we do in this life echoes in eternity. And I do not think that I could express it better than reading to you today about the one solitary life that made Michael Brown the man he was. And it is, here's a man, and from the one solitary life is, here's a man who was born in an obscure village, the child of a peasant woman. He grew up in another village, and he worked in a carpenter shop until he was 30. Then for 3 years, he was an itinerant preacher. He never owned a home. He never wrote a book. He never held office. He never had a family. He never went to college. He never put his foot inside a big city. He never traveled 200 miles from the place he was born. He never did one of the things that usually accompanies greatness. He had no credentials but himself. While still a young man, the tide of popular opinion turned against him. His friends ran away from him. One of them denied him. He was turned over to his enemies. He went through the mockery of a trial. He was nailed upon a cross between two thieves. And while he was dying, his executioners gambled for the only piece of property he had on earth, his coat. When he was dead, he was laid in a borrowed grave through the pity of a friend. 19 long centuries have come and gone, and today he is a centerpiece of the human race and the leader of the column of progress. And I am far within the marks when I say that all the armies that ever marched, all the navies that were ever built, and all the parliaments that ever sat, and all the kings that ever reigned, put together have not affected the life of man upon this earth as powerfully as that one solitary life. And that man was called Jesus. And Michael Brown lived a life that left a legacy that God and his family are proud of. And I now just ask all of you to remember that we only have one life to live. Make it count and know that we aren't promised tomorrow, so live today as if it is your last. Please now stand with me for a moment of silence for Representative Michael Brown. Thank you.
House will continue to be in order. The clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 488.
House Resolution 488 by Representative Chandler of the 105th, Clark of the 101st, Abrams of the 89th, Brooks of the 55th, Sims of the 123rd, and others. A resolution commending Susan McCauley for honoring the memory of Rosa Parks through the book she authored, Our Auntie Rosa. Remembering the legacy of Rosa Parks and the courageous role she played in the civil rights movement, and inviting Susan McCauley to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Representative Chandler for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. About a month ago at the Dr. King celebration in Gwinnett, Representative Clark, who needs to be up here with us, and I had the pleasure of meeting Susan McCauley. We found her to be a delightful, interesting lady. She was introduced to us by Lenny Ware, whom I think is in the balcony somewhere. Lenny, wave. And Lenny is a parapro in Gwinnett, and a real proponent of human rights. With him is Dr. Marlene Taylor Crawford. Where's Marlene? She didn't make it. Marlene is not here. And Dr. Walethia Williams, and we're glad to have you with us. What I learned about Susan McCauley as we began to talk is that she, in her own right, had so much going for her. She's one of those adults that we often talk about here who has a college degree but then went back to school to do something where she could make a living. And she now is in a massage program at Gwinnett College. And that takes a lot of courage to go back as we get older. But what I also learned about Susan, and she's here with her 3 children, and I'm going to have her to introduce them in a minute, but Susan's aunt was one of the most courageous women who has ever lived. And she was a lady that changed the history of our state and our country, and that lady was Rosa Parks. And we're going to have Susan to come and share a few words with us. Introduce your children.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker and state representatives and guests. I would like to give special thanks to Representative Chambers and Representative Clark for recognizing me here today. It's indeed an honor to stand before this assembly during Women's History Month. I not only wanted to talk about Rosa Parks, my aunt, civil rights icon. She would have been humbled to stand before you today, as I am. But I also want to acknowledge Representative Clark and Chambers for their hard work and diligence in the House and giving us all women a voice, speaking out on issues that concern us, women with families, careers, and all of us. So thank you very much. I met Representative Clark when she was principal at Central Gwinnett High School while my children attended. We lived in Gwinnett County for 15 years. I remember when she came door-to-door campaigning, and my son Broderick said, "Mom, that's my principal." He was so proud. I admired the tenacity and persistence, and I still do. I feel comfortable with the fact that she represents my district. But Representative Joyce Chambers, I met, as she mentioned, at the United Ebony Society annual MLK Parade event in Gwinnett. And I was so impressed because instead of riding in a car on the parade route, she chose to walk, and it was a little over a mile, and she walked with the entire parade route with no problems. I was immediately impressed with her. We walked along with the mayor of Lawrenceville. She displayed the strength and character and leadership at that time. Now I'd like to introduce my children, Whitney, Sis Whitney, Broderick, and Skylar, who's sitting in the background there, all attended Central Gwinnett High School in Lawrenceville. Skylar is an honor student there in the STEM Academy. And at this time, I'd like to hand over the baton to the young people, not only my children, but young people in the community, as my Aunt Rosa handed it to me in the lessons that she taught me and my 12 siblings. She taught us many lessons, including humility, endurance, persistence, and of course, courage. Two of the most important lessons she taught me was forgiveness. She always said, The challenge to forgive someone that you felt have done you wrong is based in a heartfelt apology. And that is the true challenge. The second lesson was to love others. She said it was easy to love those who loved you, but it was difficult when you love someone that does not return that love back to you. I'm hoping that these words have inspired you as it does me, and you'll be able to reach out to others who are less fortunate than yourselves, and with compassion and empathy, just as my Auntie Rosa taught me to do. Thank you very much.
We're going on to the rules calendar. Going on to the rules calendar, the clerk will read the caption to House Bill 504. House Bill 504.
House Bill 504 by Representative Cooper, the 43rd, to be titled an act to amend Code Section 31-12-3.2 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to disease vaccinations and disclosures. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Health and Human Services, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
Chair recognizes Chairman Cooper to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring to you the substitute to House Bill 504. If you've been in this chamber for a few years, you will know that for the past 3 or 4 years, we have had an ongoing discussion about the expansion of pharmacists being able to give vaccines without a written prescription from a physician. They now are allowed only to give the flu vaccines. This bill will expand that to 3 more vaccines: pneumococcal disease, shingles, or meningitis. This is a carefully crafted compromise between the physicians and the pharmacists, because with this expansion becomes expanded responsibilities. One of these vaccines is a live virus, and there are certain people in our community that should not have a live virus. So before the pharmacist can give these, they must do a complete history. They must have completed a course approved by the CDC to be able to give the vaccines. They must notify and are made every good effort to notify the patient's physician within 72 hours after giving the vaccines. And most importantly, to me, they must, make the patient more aware of what's happening to them by giving them a cardstock card to carry in their billfold, which will have the name of the vaccine, when it was given, how much was given, and who gave it to them. So in case there is a reaction or the pharmacist was unable to reach their physician, they can communicate what they've had to their physician so there is continuity in their care. With this responsibility, we have also, have a backup plan if you don't do what you're supposed to. I mean, We have given drugs and narcotics the right, as they come in and check pharmacists, to also check and make sure that the pharmacy people are putting this information into grits and that they are following the procedures they are supposed to and being allowed this expansion. As I said, this is a carefully constructed agreement, and I am glad to be finally putting this to bed. Patients do have responsibilities, and also pharmacies will have responsibilities as they take on this new privilege. Mr. Speaker, if there are no questions, I will yield the well.
You have some questions if you care to yield.
I will yield for one or two, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Donahue to your left for a question.
Does the lady yield?
Yes,
I want to make sure I understood this. So these shots, if a pharmacist, you walked in and they can give you the flu shot, they can now continually give you these other shots?
Yes, these other three.
And just curious, if my doctor gives me the shot and I go home, I have his number to call him in case something happens. This furthers to where you can contact somebody from the pharmacy in case you had a reaction or something?
Well, and that's one of the things that we discussed, and it's a good question because pharmacies are not open 24 hours a day. And that's why I felt that it was so important that the patient have a card, be told to keep that card, telling the doctor, his doctor, if they can get to him, or the emergency room people, what they've had and when it was administered and by whom.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you further yield?
For one more question, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Spencer to your right for a question.
Does the lady yield?
Yes, I yield.
Is it true that this will help patient access in rural parts of the state?
Representative, that's a question that remains to be seen. That is the supposition, but there are studies that show that a lot about whether patients get vaccines or not is up to them and their attitude about vaccines and how much they're encouraged to give vaccines. Mr. Speaker, if there are no further, I am ready to yield the well and ask for everyone's favorable consideration of this substitute to House Bill 504. Thank you.
Lady has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 504 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 504. The ayes are 168, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 372.
House Bill 372 by Representative Coomer, the 14th, to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 20-2-2068.2, the official code of Georgia, annotated relating to the facilities funds for charter schools. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Education. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chair recognizes Representative Coomer to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 372 is a bill designed to close a gap in existing law. The bill states that once the State Department of Education has completed a facility inspection on a school and the school has a certificate of occupancy, that the local authorities can't require that school to obtain any other licensure or certification to operate. The bill has sponsorship and support from members of both parties, and including my co-signers, Representative Mike Glanton and Representative Valencia Stovall, who both helped me work through this bill and this issue. The bill made it through committee without a single no vote, and I hope that you can also cast your vote in favor of this bill today. Mr. Speaker, I ask for favorable consideration, and I yield the well.
You don't have any questions. Chair recognizes Representative Stovall to speak to the bill. She waives. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 372 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 372, the ayes are 170, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 328.
House Bill 328 by Representative Evstration of the 104th, to be entitled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 15 of Chapter 1 of Title 10 of Code Sections 17-10-7 and 49-9-45 relating to the Fair Business Practices Act of 1975. This bill having been referred to the Committee on Judiciary and Non-Civil, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by substitute.
Chair recognizes Representative Evstration to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This morning I bring to you, members of the House, House Bill 328. This is the 2015 bill for adult criminal justice reform. As both a former drug court prosecutor and a private attorney, I've observed firsthand that lives are being saved through the rehabilitative structure that's provided in accountability courts in the state. As legislators, we've all seen the cost savings in corrections funding from this effort to be smart on crime and address the underlying addiction issues for certain nonviolent offenses. House Bill 328 builds on the previous criminal justice reform provisions by working to improve the accuracy of criminal histories, providing consistency and dollar thresholds for felony offenses, adding accountability court completion to be considered in professional licensing, and allowing parole consideration for certain nonviolent recidivist drug offenses. This bill also includes recommendations made for the Georgia Public Defender Standards Council and builds on improvements that have been made at the council over the past several years. Legislation is supported by both the Circuit Public Defenders, the District Attorneys Association of Georgia, and the bill passed unanimously out of Judiciary and Non-Civil Committee. I ask for your favorable consideration of this legislation. I'll be happy to take any questions if there are any.
You have a question if you care to yield.
I'll yield. Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the Higher Education Committee, Chairman Rogers, to your right for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, yield.
Yes, sir.
There are a lot of changes, is there not true, in this legislation? I know it came out of non-civil. But on lines 98, 99, and 98 and 99 concern me. So maybe I need a little help. I know you're an attorney, a former prosecutor, or still a prosecutor, but can you explain what's really going on there, please?
Yes, sir. So this is following the recommendation from the Council on Criminal Justice Reform. What it would do is currently under the recidivist statute, judges and potentially the Board of Pardons and Paroles is restricted in discretion as far as sentencing or the possibility of parole. This provision in this section of the bill would allow the possibility of parole only for certain drug offenses Certainly trafficking would not be included, but for certain drug offenses where the sentencing took place under the recidivist statute. As the member can see, there are many restrictions on this. First of all, 12 years of the sentence must be served, that the offender could not have a prior conviction for certain violent, sexual, or firearms offenses, that there would have to be a good record from the Department of Corrections, that the offender would have received a GED or high school education while in custody. Additionally, it's important to note that the Board of Pardons and Paroles has the ultimate discretion, and that the sentencing judge or the DA could have an opportunity to express any views to the Board of Pardons and Paroles. And this is supported by the District Attorneys Association of Georgia.
Okay. Will you further yield?
Yes, sir.
So you're talking, is it not true, about drug charges?
Yes, sir.
Example being trafficking. What type of drug charges are you referring to?
It would be drug charges under OCGA 161330. So trafficking would not be included, but it would be other drug offenses.
Will you further yield?
Yes, sir.
On lines 166, where we're changing a name again, the Georgia Public Defender standards, we're removing standards. Can you give me a good reason why standards? Are we scared of standards? Or?
No, sir, not at all. These recommendations came in, as I said, from the council and are being included as consistent with these recommendations that were made and with support of circuit public defenders. The council would still have the ability to set procedures. That's not being changed by this legislation. And so this is all as part of recommendations that are made included in these portions of the legislation.
One further question,
yes,
if you'll yield. On lines 264, where it says engage in the private practice of law for profit, can you answer that for me? Why would anybody practice law for no profit? I don't know many attorneys that do, but...
Well, sir, I won't answer that as far as attorneys are concerned, but this is just discussing what the director could or couldn't do. So that would be.
So the director cannot moonlight. What we should have said, he can't moonlight on the side, right?
That's correct. The director
Okay.
would. Yes, sir.
I understand it now.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You have another question if you care to yield. He waves. No more questions.
I yield the well, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 328 will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 328. The ayes are 170, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. What purpose does Chairman Roberts rise?
Mr. Speaker, I make a motion.
State your motion.
I move that this House send House Bill 170 back to rules for technical amendment.
The clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 170 by Representative Roberts, the 155th, to be entitled an act to amend various provisions of the OCGA so as to provide for additional revenue necessary for funding transportation purposes in this state.
On the gentleman's motion that House Bill 170 be recommitted to the Rules Committee, is there objection? The chair hears none. It is so ordered. What purpose? Chair recognizes Chairman Meadows for an announcement.
there will be a Rules Committee meeting at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock.
Chairman announces that the Rules Committee will be meeting at 1 o'clock. This House will be in recess for lunch until 1:30 p.m. 1:30 p.m.